Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on the channel. Now in this video, we're going to be doing another SMMA Q&A. I've asked a bunch of questions on Instagram, on my Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I will plug up my handle on the screen somewhere. I've also got it linked in the description below. It's the very last line of the description. So make sure you go ahead and follow me to be a part of the next one. As always guys, just before we jump into the video, make sure you go ahead, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel and turn on those post notifications. Just before we jump into this video, guys, Bax Consulting is actually hiring. Okay, so Bax Consulting is my e-commerce marketing agency, and we are currently hiring. We are hiring for an appointment setter. You know, it's not a quick one-time thing. We're basically looking to bring somebody on board for the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months down the line. So if you think that would be a good position for yourself, click the second link in the description. Okay, the second link is going to take you to an application form. Fill that out, and then from there we will email you back. Guys, super excited to see everybody's applications. And with that being said, enjoy the rest of the video. So the very first question, well, it's actually not a question, it's just make more videos on outreach / getting the first few clients. Also videos on running the ads. More than happy to. Let me know if you guys want to see more videos like that. Drop a comment below, because look, at the end of the day, this channel, as you guys know, I'm trying to post videos that is actually going to benefit you guys. It's all for you guys. So if you want more videos like that, drop a comment below, let me know, and I'll be sure to do them. Next question. I want to start an SMMA during university. Do you think it's possible to balance the two? I personally think it really is. I haven't had like first-hand experience balancing the two. I actually built my agency, or started my agency, I should say, when I was still at school, and I was able to do that. I completely understand that uni is probably a lot more demanding than school is. But I personally think 100% it's more than doable. I know people closely who have got very successful agencies that are also still at uni, which is pretty crazy to think. So it's definitely possible. I just think that you'd have to put managing your day on the biggest pedestal, because if you don't manage your time properly, if you don't, make sure that at every single, half an hour or an hour, there's something scheduled in. If you don't have that, then I don't believe it will be possible. But I think if you focus on, productivity, on managing your day, on scheduling your day, it is more than possible. So next up, what would you do if you were starting from scratch, $0 with SMMA? Exact steps. I personally, I've covered this topic in a bunch of videos, but just to reiterate, I personally would triple down on a proven e-com outreach method, which for me is email outreach. I've proved it multiple times, probably hundreds and hundreds of times at this point, as well as students of the program have proved it hundreds and hundreds of times. I'd focus on that, and if you don't know Facebook ads too well yourself personally, I'd also ensure that I dedicate some time to finding a very qualified media buyer to handle the clients that you're inevitably going to sign on board by focusing on a proven method. You see, the two correlate. Yes, you're going to be focusing on a proven method, but because you're focusing on a proven outreach method, you are going to generate clients because it's proven and it works. That's why it's proven. So you're going to generate clients. So you need to make sure that you've got somebody on board or somebody there ready to handle the clients that, as I say, you're inevitably going to sign on board. That's that one. Next one is, I'm not sure whether to charge for my first client or do a free trial for 2 weeks. What do you suggest? I personally do not recommend free trials. Everything is wrong about them. The frame that you set the client, for you personally, like, you just don't need to do free trials. There's multiple students of the program who sign clients on board and have never had any experience. They don't even know how to run Facebook ads. They've actually got a media buyer on board, as I explained in the previous question. They're kind of doing that. They have no idea about Facebook ads, yet they sign on a $1,500, $2K per month client. So I think the most important thing that you do for your very first client is just charge lower. That's it. Just don't charge as much. Don't go out and charge $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. Just charge $1,000. Get used to the process. Get used to having a client. Get used to the communication. Get used to delivering results, whether it's yourself or a media buyer. And then from there, you start to creep up. And at least, as I say, I'll never talk about personal experience on this channel. And that's exactly what I did. I started small and I built my way up to, which is now where our minimum retainer, we don't entertain conversations lower than 3K a month with some sort of ROAS deal in place as well, with clients ranging up to, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 a month retainers. So that's what you want to get to. But to get to that point, just gradually, you know, take baby steps to that point. That's what I did. But my point with all of this is that you do not need to start with free trials, because you're wasting your time. You know, you're doing all this stuff and you're not getting paid. So you're wasting your time, and you're also setting a bad frame for the client. The client believes that they, you know, this is the problem with free trials, okay? You're running service, you're doing your services, you're implementing your services for free for 2 weeks, for example. After that 2 weeks, the client gets the exact same services, but now they've got to pay for it. So now they feel as though they're losing out, they're losing money in some way, shape or form. Whereas if you just start from the beginning, like they don't get their services until they pay, it sets the frame for the relationship moving forward. So don't do free trials. And as I say, it's not like you need to anyway, you know, because just charge slightly smaller for your first client. Next up, freelance SMMA or agency. 100% agency. Freelance SMMA, it's freelance SMMA, you're doing everything yourself. You're doing outreach, you're doing service delivery. Well, there's not really many operations for a freelancer, but you know what I mean? Like you're doing everything yourself. So it's a full-time job, and you're actually, you know, severely limited in terms of how much you can make. An agency, it's a real business. If you're in the Quantum Agency program, you know, the Quantum Leap Ecom Agency program, you know that we're not building just a side thing, a thing that's going to make a quick buck. You know, we're building a real legit business with actual business operations, with actual processes and systems in place. All these things allow you to severely scale your agency to unseen heights. So to bring team members on board and then eventually employees on board who are masters and experts in their area, which just enables you to grow this thing that's just churns out just crazy profits at a very, very high rate and a high volume. Whereas with a freelance SMMA, you just don't get that. Well, it's not even a freelance SMMA, you're just a freelance marketing freelancer, you know, and you just don't get that. So, I mean, it's up to you at the end of the day. Like, don't feel as though, because I run an SMMA, because students of the program run an SMMA, because people subscribe to this channel run an agency SMMA, you know, don't feel as though you have to. If you want to do a freelance, if you want to be a freelancer, if you want to, you know, just make however much a month, not that much money, but you just love to run ads, then obviously go for it. It's whatever makes you happy the most. I just know for me that a freelance SMMA, being a freelancer is just not my thing. So next up, how did you get confidence to charge $1,000 for your first client in the real estate niche? So for those of you who don't know, I started off in the real estate niche, and then I made the best transition I ever made in my agency. I went from local lead gen real estate to e-commerce, which just the best transition I've ever made. That's why I highly recommend everybody does it. But how I got my very first client was confidence and competence. This is something that I always say. I actually responded to a comment the other day. Somebody was asking about it, and yeah, like I say, it's exactly the same thing. Confidence and competence. If you're confident, you know, you're speaking like me right now. You know, I'm not nervous, I'm not scared, I'm not hesitant on what I'm saying. I'm just talking freely. I'm talking confidently. I've got conviction behind my, you know, just confidence, right? And then competence as well. You know what you're talking about. It's not like you're talking about this foreign concept and it's showing to the client that you don't actually know what you're talking about. You're just kind of talking something that you heard and you're trying to relay it. And, you know, confidence, competence, you'll be able to, you know, confidence and competence is literally the underlying foundation to how people sell 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 packages. It's how I'm literally in the process right now of securing a $20,000 funnel build, right? Confidence and competence. And obviously, you know, it's easy to say that, you know, just be confident and be competent, but confidence stems from experience, you know, being comfortable, and you become comfortable by, you know, having experience, you know, by being in that same situation a myriad of times before. So, you know, in terms of meetings and whatnot, you basically become more confident by just having more meetings. Your first meetings, you know, it's inevitable. You're not gonna feel nervous, right? Everybody feels nervous, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, no matter how much money you make now. When I first started out, I was so nervous, hands sweating, heart racing, voice was just shaky as because I was just so nervous, right? But that's, everybody's got to take that first call, those first few calls. Once you have your 10th, 15th, 20th, 30th, 40th call, 50th, 100th call, like you just, confidence is just a natural byproduct. And then competence is just learning, right? Learn from people who have done it. Watch all my YouTube. I guarantee if you watch all of my YouTube videos, you will be very competent, okay? Never mind the Quantum Leap Ecom Agency program, never mind that. I'm just talking about YouTube videos, you will be competent, and that's all for free. So you just gotta learn, and then once you do get a client on board, obviously implement things and start executing on what you've been learning, and then competence, I should say, just naturally stems from that, okay? So next up, how do you structure pricing? So I've got a video on this, I'll plug it on the screen. Go and watch that video. That video, like, I kind of go through 3 stages. So the first stage is basically your minimum, and that's what your media buyer charges you plus 100%. So if your media buyer charges 1,000 per month per client, your minimum is 2,000. Like, you don't go any lower than that. So for your first client, do your minimum. Tying in with the previous question about free trials and whatnot, you don't need to do free trials. You just charge a minimum amount. And in this case, your minimum would be what your media buyer charges you plus 100%. So, for example, 1,000, your minimum's 2,000. That's the first kind of tier. The second tier is basing your pricing off of how much the client's making. So this, once you've got your first few clients in place and you kind of got a bit more confidence, you kind of know how to do things, then you can start to base your pricing off of how much the client makes. You'll charge a client who makes 50K a month very, very differently to how you would charge a client who makes 300K a month, right? That's kind of the next tier. And then the tier above that is encompassing that second tier of how much is the client making, but also encompassing something that I like to call like gut feeling, right? With e-commerce, with us now at Bax Consulting, we kind of know the type of results we'll be able to generate a client, right? We know, all right, this client will be able to get like a 5 ROAS, 6, 7, 8, 9 ROAS. We'll be able to scale this to the moon. Whereas this client, it's going to be tougher. So we're going to charge them slightly lower. Whereas this client, we're going to blow it out of the water. Let's charge them higher, right? That's kind of the gut feeling, but that only comes from having experience working with just a bunch of brands, bunch of accounts, and just having that experience and becoming more of an expert in the field. So that's why it's in those tiers. Like, you start at the bottom, you go to the next one, and then you go to the top, which is gut feeling. But as I said, I talk about that in depth in that how to price your e-commerce services video. So moving on. Best CRM tool to use. I've used HubSpot and Pipedrive so far. Pipedrive, it might not be the best because I've just simply not tried every single CRM out there. So there may be one better, but at Bax Consulting, we use Pipedrive, and we love it. There's no reason for me to move to another one. We've actually just built out an entire system for our appointment setters, where basically they use templates, they move leads into certain columns, and when the lead goes into a certain column, which is basically where myself or John, which is my media buyer, if they move it into there, we'll get a notification in Slack. We've set up a separate group in Slack. We'll get a notification that we need to send them over a Loom video. So it's kind of this entire system where it's super easy for our appointment setters to go ahead and generate as many meetings as possible. So as I say, we use Pipedrive, I use Pipedrive, and it's simply just the best one that we've personally tried out. So I hope that helps, by the way. The next question is, my ad accounts keep getting shut down. What should I do? Your ad accounts will continue to get shut down if you continue to violate Facebook's policies. So obviously I don't have too much context. I mean, that's all I've got in terms of context. So I don't have too much context in terms of what you're doing, if you're running client accounts and whatnot. But just read through Facebook's policies and make sure that you're sticking to them, that you're complying with their policies. And if you do, there's literally no reason why Facebook should be shutting you down. If you feel as though you're complying, then make sure you reach out to Facebook support. They're very busy at the moment, so you may not get a response, but just be patient and they will eventually get back to you, and you can sort out the problem that way. But as I say, for the most part, it will just be because you aren't obviously complying with their policies. That's why they'll be shutting you down. Is chiropractors a good niche? I couldn't tell you on full transparency. Like, you guys know me, I'm very transparent on the channel. If I don't know something, I'll say, like, I have no idea. If chiropractors are a good niche, I'm not in it. I've never been in it. Real estate, I was in it, so I would say, I can have an opinion on that. But chiropractors, I honestly have no idea. But it's not e-com, so it's not the best niche. Next question, what goals are you trying to reach by the end of the year? So by the end of this year, I want to be at 60,000 a month, because next year I'm actually trying to strive for 750,000. So I'm trying to hit 750,000 next year, and that's about 62,000 a month. So in order to do that, I need to obviously hit 60,000 every single month. And so I want to go into 2020 by making 60K a month. Not too bothered about hitting it this year, but I want to try and make sure that I'm hitting that at the start of next year. For this year, I'm just trying to get to 50K a month. From the start of this year to now, I've basically gone from anywhere from like 15 to 20K a month as a hygiene standard. 20K a month on a good month and 15K pretty hygiene, a hygiene standard. I've gone from that to now making 30K a hygiene standard. So, by the end of the year, I definitely should be at 50K, and moved into 2020, making that 60 to 62,000 a month, which will enable me to, reach my goal for next year, which is, as I say, 750,000, 750,000. Next question, what's the size of your team now? Size of my team right now is 4. There's 4 people, 2 appointment setters and a media buyer. And very soon I will have to be bringing on a second media buyer, which is super exciting, because that's what we mean that we're getting clients, and the current media buyer, John, you guys know him now. He's kind of reaching his capacity almost. So we'll be looking at bringing on a second media buyer very, very soon. Next question, best ways to get clients. Just watch the outreach videos on this channel. That's one of the biggest topics on the channel. And also click the first link in the description. It's gonna take you to a free training. And in there, I basically walk you through the most proven ways to get e-commerce clients. I show you my exact e-commerce client acquisition funnel. And I also show you exactly how I got my first 7 e-commerce clients. So you can basically watch that free training, replicate exactly what I did, and go out and get your own clients. Next up, how many Loom videos will it take to get a client? Very, very broad question. It obviously ranges. It depends on a myriad of different situations, different scenarios. Depends what type of Loom videos you're doing. Depends how you speak, how you come across in those Loom videos you're sending. And it also depends on the leads that you're reaching out to. Are the leads even qualified? Look, at the end of the day, if a lead isn't qualified, then you'll never sign a client. How good at sales you are, you'll never sign a client. So it also depends on that. On average though, you should be getting around anywhere from like a 3 to 15% meeting book rate. So out of every 100 outreaches you make, whether it's email, whether it's Loom, whatever, you should be getting 3 to 15 meetings booked out of those 100 that you made. That's kind of like an optimal percentage. Next question, high ticket e-com sub niches. That isn't, for me at least, there's not a high ticket e-com sub niche, right? For me, there's not like, if you're talking about, that could mean a couple things. High ticket e-com sub niches could be high ticket products, like $300, $400, $500 products. Or it could also mean like, what sub niches could I go into where I could charge a lot, like a high amount, and the client can afford it. Either one, like high ticket products isn't something that you should be striving for. It's not like, oh, I've got a client with like a $500 product. It's not like a flex, because it's actually harder to generate the results. So I wouldn't like try and flex a high ticket product, because as I say, it's actually harder to generate like $300, $400, $500 products. It's harder to generate them results. And then on the flip side, if it's more along the lines of like, what sub niches should I go after that I can charge a high amount for in terms of retainer? Well, there's not specific niches. It's just a matter of what businesses are killing it, right? It's just a matter of what businesses have enough resources to actually pay you those high ticket. How much are they making currently? A business making $1 million a month, you can charge that would be a high ticket client, right? You could charge 10K a month, you could charge 13K a month. Whereas a brand that's making 50K a month, it would be more of a lower ticket client. So it also comes down to qualified leads as well. But I definitely wouldn't say there's this sub niche is the best sub niche to get high ticket clients. It's just how well is each specific client doing. And that's obviously where, for those of you in the program, the qualification process comes into play, and it's super, super powerful. Next question. Best way of scaling up profitable ad sets. Again, there's quite a few ways. The way that we do it is by incrementally scaling up. So you want to basically, let's say for easy numbers, $100 a day is the current ad set budget, and you want to scale that up. How do you scale that up profitably and effectively? Well, what we do is we increase it by, depending on the budget, the client's monthly budget comes into play. That's the most important thing, that you stay within those parameters set by the client. But let's just say, again, for an easy example, let's say we've got unlimited budget. Well, what we would do is we would probably scale it up by maybe 50%. And then you always want to leave it for like 2 to 3 days. You could probably do 2 days if you want to aggressively scale, or 3 days to be safe. But the reason why you want to leave it for multiple days is because you want, the day that you change the budget, things are going to kind of go all over the place. Then you want the following day or two for that new budget to really kind of do its thing. And then after that period, so after 2 days, after 3 days, basically you want to look at the performance. Has it performed, and is it still performing within the KPIs at the increased budget? If it is, then go again, another 50% of the new number, not the original, right? If we go 100, you do 50% of that, which will be 150. Leave it for 2 to 3 days. Is it still performing in KPIs? If so, 50% of 150, increase it, leave it another 2 to 3 days. Is it in KPIs? Yes, keep going like that. That's how you profitably scale and predictably scale ABO, ad set budget optimization. Ad sets. Best method to acquiring clients for beginners. Again, go ahead, click the first link in the description. It's going to take you to that free training. I lay everything out on the table, and I also show you how to scale your agency to 6 and then multiple 6 figures as well, just as a little bonus. Next question, where can someone find a good media buyer for ecom? Again, guys, I've got a multitude of videos on the channel covering finding media buyers, what to look for, where to find them, qualifications, all that type of stuff. But just to give you a quick rundown again, the best place to look for media buyers is definitely Facebook groups associated to advertising, to funnels, to paid traffic, to online marketing, to Facebook ads, all that type of stuff. That's definitely the best place. And then you can use things like Upwork and sites of that nature as backup options, as fallback options if you can't find somebody in Facebook groups. But again, as I say, go watch the previous videos on the channel covering those topics. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you want to be a part of the next Q&A, if you want your own questions to get answered, make sure you click the final link in the description. It's the very last one. It's going to take you to my Instagram. Make sure you follow me, and I post stories. You'll see the story, the next SMMA Q&A, and you can go ahead and ask your questions there. As I mentioned, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.